The return to workplaces is putting a strain on caregivers. The CEO of the Ontario Caregiver organization, Amy Coupal, joins us now with more on what needs to be done. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So the pandemic really gave us a good exploration of work-life balance and how for many people, especially caregivers, it's all out of whack.
Well, there are an estimated 3.3 million caregivers in the province of Ontario, and certainly they face some significant challenges keeping themselves and the person they care for safe. And they're considering those challenges and what they need as far as support goes as they return to the workplace.
Because in some instances, whether you were caring for a parent or a sibling or even a child, if you were working from home, there were things that you could do to kind of ease that care, right? Even if they weren't able to get the care that they normally do during the pandemic. But if you're actually going away now back to the office or back to the plant where you work, it's tougher.
There are definitely things that caregivers need to consider now as they return to the workplace, and COVID-19 is one of those things, but talking with their employer about how they balance their caregiving and work responsibilities is another. So we have some resources on our website at ontariocaregiver.ca, both for working caregivers as well as employers, to help support those kinds of conversations that enable caregivers to be successful in both their work and caregiving roles.
Because it can be a tough conversation to begin with, right? They might go, well, you've done this all along. Why is it a problem now?
You know, we do hear from caregivers that there is a portion of caregivers that are concerned about losing their job as a result of their caregiving responsibilities. And that's one of the things that stops caregivers from having those conversations. So that's why at the Ontario Caregiver organization, we're also working with employers to help them to better understand how caregivers can be a great asset to their company and how supporting and retaining them can be a win-win situation.
And what else does your organization do? How else does it help?
We provide support to all of Ontario's caregivers, and that includes people who are caring for an older adult, such as a parent, a spouse, a child, or any number of other situations, such as friends or neighbors. So we have one-to-one peer support. We have peer support groups. We have a number of learning opportunities through webinars and e-learning, and people can learn all about the supports that we have for caregivers on our website at ontariocaregiver.ca.
Because I can imagine in a lot of cases it feels like, oh, I must be the only one who's doing that, but you're not.
Caregivers are looking for that recognition of the work that they're doing, but they're also looking for support and connection. So support can come from employers, but it also comes from family members, friends, and neighbors who may also be a part of that circle of care. And it's also about raising awareness like we're doing today, helping people to recognize that they may be a caregiver themselves and not know it, or they may know other caregivers in their lives. And sometimes it's a simple thing like a cup of coffee or a phone call that can help a caregiver keep going, but also to perhaps find new solutions to support them in their caregiving journey.
Right, because if you're not supported, you have a really tough time. It's tough on your health, your mental health, and I can imagine it would affect your productivity at work.
Caregivers tell us that it is an extra strain, that it does affect their mental health in particular, but in some cases physical as well. And so we want to make sure that caregivers have the support that they need to sustain themselves in the caregiving role, which does include taking care of their physical and mental health, but it's also about that support and connection. And you're right, the workplace is a part of that. And so as employers are able to really recognize their caregiving employees and to become a caregiver-friendly workplace, we really see that that's a benefit for everyone.
Right, because it might not just be an instance of, no, okay, you know, I need to work from home all the time. Maybe it's a staggered shift. Maybe it's just some flexible hours, right?
You're exactly right. And so in our guide for employers, we have some of those options laid out, and for working caregivers too, so that they can talk through what's appropriate in this working circumstance. It depends on the role, it depends on the company, and there are lots of creative solutions that can be developed to support caregivers in staying in the workforce and playing that role for themselves and for their family, but also continuing in that important caregiving role.
Right, right. And lots of ways that you can help out as well. Amy, thanks for joining us from the Ontario Caregiver Association. We'll get lots more links up on our website, chch.com. Great job that you offer.
Thank you for having me.